Bizworld. Malaysia is on track to achieve its net zero carbon emission by 2050, but it needs to keep attracting investors' funding to keep up with its momentum of energy transition. Energy Industries Council's Regional Director Ahmad said for this, the government needs external funds, and to do so, renewable projects or energy transition projects need to be attractive. The recent EIC report highlighted on Malaysia's energy supply chain shifts into oil and gas following a lack of consistent and profitable work in green projects. According to the report, this shift raises concerns that net zero 2050 commitments would also be delayed. Ahmad said Malaysia can achieve its net zero carbon emission by 2050, but it depends on what else Malaysia will do. As for the National Energy Transition Roadmap, the Council is eagerly waiting for the implementation, as this is the first time that the government has detailed its action plans. Foreign investors continued their buying streak on Bursa Malaysia for the fifth consecutive week, snapping up 465.5 million ringgit worth of equities last week. According to MIDF research, foreign investors were net buying every day of the week. The top three sectors that saw net foreign inflows were financial services, technology and plantation. Year to date, the firm noted that foreigners have net sold 2.46 billion ringgit. Meanwhile, local institutions remained as net sellers of domestic equities for the fifth straight week after net selling 321.9 million ringgit. Local retailers also net sold for the fifth consecutive week at a much higher rate of 143.7 million ringgit compared with 8.5 million ringgit net sold in the previous week. Year to date, local institutions have been net buyers at 2.68 billion ringgit, while local retailers have net sold 220 million ringgit. Moving on, 11 local companies successfully recorded potential sales of over 10 million ringgit at the Food and Technology Expo Amman, Jordan 2023. It involves the sale of beverage and food products produced by Malaysian small and medium companies, which successfully attract international buyers mainly from the Middle East.
Ini produk baru untuk saya punya kan.
Five trade memorandums of understanding MOUs were signed between HA1 holdings and companies from Jordan, Iraq and Egypt, witnessed by Malaysian ambassador to Jordan, Muhammed Abdul Rahman. Several potential trade cooperation also was developed between local SME and buyers from Saudi Arabia and Syria. Malaysia is poised to surpass its international tourist arrival target of at least 18 million visitors this year, exceeding the initial target of 16.1 million. Despite slower Chinese tourist arrivals than expected, it is not seen to affect the country's potential to generate more than 49 billion ringgit in tourism income.
The China market is still slowly growing because they've just recently opened. So while arrivals to China now are not as big as what we would have hoped, they will steadily increase as we go along. So hopefully by the end of the year, we should see significant recovery from that market.
He noted that more programs and initiatives will be implemented to ensure Malaysia becomes a focal point for tourists worldwide. Among them, the Malaysia Association of Tour and Travel Agents Fair, which potentially generates sales of 350 million ringgit. Malaysia recorded 4.5 million tourist arrivals in the first quarter of this year, with most of them coming from ASEAN countries. The government is expected to ramp up its long overdue infrastructure-related projects as the state elections have concluded. Rakuten Trade Equity Research Vice President Tong Pat Leng said this following the disbursement of 97 billion ringgit development expenditure allocation under Budget 2023.
Of 97 billion ringgit development expenditure for Budget 23, plus implementation of MRT3 worth 45 billion ringgit and flood mitigation projects worth 15 billion ringgit should provide positive news for the construction sector.
He also believes the conclusion of the state elections will reduce doubts in the local political landscape, thus resulting to more inflows into the exchange. Meanwhile, RHB Investment Bank Research maintains an overweight call on the construction sector. The federal government will likely be in a stronger position to focus its efforts in rolling out infrastructure programs and implementing its reform agenda. It believes that government jobs flow could likely pick up in the coming months. And that's all the time we have for Bizworld this time around. I'm Muhammed. I'm Hamdan. Thanks for investing your time with us.